Hey, what's going on, guys? Max here with Because Bitcoin, and today for 10 minutes max, I promise you we are going to go over 10 minutes. It won't be like an hour or anything like that, but just a lot that I want to share generally. Before we get into the charts and before we get into the visuals, do me a solid, guys. Please consider not only liking, but also subscribing to the channel if you are new here. Again, this is supposed to be 10 minutes max, where we do 10-minute videos every single day, but I usually have a tough time just sticking to the 10 minutes, but we're going to roll with the punches. We're going to see what happens today. As boring as some of you guys think that this is, the high time frame Bitcoin chart, it plays an absolutely pivotal role in my decision making for my altcoins. And it's pretty obvious that something incredible is more probabilistically going to happen, right? After every single Bitcoin halving, what happens? We get dramatic price appreciation, right? I mean, literally overnight, Bitcoin halving occurs. And then, typically what follows is months and months of aggressive climbing for Bitcoin price. If some people are not halving believers, right? But, I very much so am, right? Because on any given day, a Bitcoin mining company and, together, Bitcoin mining companies are potentially the largest seller of Bitcoin. They control the fresh supply of Bitcoin on the open market. And when overnight, the available fresh supply of Bitcoin gets cut in half, literally like overnight in an instant, and demand remains constant. Again, it's Econ 101, supply and demand.
Anyone? Anyone? Something DOO economics.
But I'm actually more bullish altcoins. And again, I'm going to get into the meme coins and I'm going to get into AND, of course. It's important that you guys understand that, it's all connected to, Bitcoin and larger caps here, okay? I'm also going to pull up something called Others D. So this is the total crypto asset class minus the top 10 names by market cap, represented as a percentage of the total crypto asset class. So again, it's a fancy way to say and look at, hey, how are my altcoins going to perform as part of my portfolio versus just holding Bitcoin? And I want to show this again before we get into the meme coins, because this is again a huge reason as to why I am bullish the altcoins that I am. So Bitcoin is up above, and I'll make this orange just so it's super clear. Bitcoin's up above. You can obviously see that we have the halving very soon, marked by this line. But what typically happens after Bitcoin halving? We see Bitcoin USD going up. And then on top of that, we also see others dominance going up. So if Bitcoin USD is going up and others dominance, which is basically like your altcoin, what percentage of your of the total crypto asset class or your portfolio do altcoins represent, going up dramatically as well. Now, we only have a couple data points, right? But you have to work with, what you get, right? Like we don't have 100 years of data. Crypto's relatively new, but, people ask me, well, Max, are you going to sell any of your altcoins here? You're up quite a bit, or we're doing well. Like,
are you going to take profit? Should I take profit?
Let me be clear. Everybody is at a much different place in life. I can't tell you whether you should take profit or not. I don't know anything about you. I mean, some of you guys I do, right? You reach out, we talk a little bit, but not enough for me to actually give you, advice like that. I don't know your situation. If you have made life-changing money in anything, whether it's Bitcoin here, whether it's altcoins, whether it's, meme coins, which are altcoins, of course, whether it's government bonds, whatever it is, right? If you need that money and it's life-changing, then you need to make a decision that's best for you. But for me, the money that I have in these markets is, I don't need it right now. There will come a time when I realize profits down the road, but I, as a trader and as an investor, always remain data dependent. And for those of you that, have subscribed to the Because Bitcoin channel and my X account for months, if not years now, that even before people really cared what I was doing, and I was just sort of trying to come up and, build a business for myself, I always leaned into the technicals, right? Like, and for me, it works because I look at this chart and I go, well, there's no emotions in this for me now. Like, we're about to have a Bitcoin halving, and look at what happens to, Bitcoin every time there's a Bitcoin halving, as we already talked about. But then the question is, do I want to hold altcoins, right? Not only Bitcoin doing well, but we also see altcoins basically becoming a much larger portion of the crypto asset class after the Bitcoin halving. So I don't know exactly where it goes, right? But I look at this and I say, well, it's happened twice in a row now. Will it happen a third time? It's anybody's guess, right? But so far it's happened every time, which is twice, right? But I'm also, I'm looking at a lot of things that tell me that this is probably going to happen. And, maybe something to look out for here is that, both times after the Bitcoin halving, quick drop and then up, quick drop and then up. So maybe, Bitcoin dominance moves up one more time and then we go up, something like that. So, I just wanted to get this out there, right? Because it's like, well, Max, why are you not selling any of your altcoins? Your plays are doing well. Maybe you're nervous and you're up and you're like, should I lock it in? I don't want to give it back. Again, for you, you have to decide, like, if you're up on a position, you have to do what's best for you. Don't do what I'm doing because we're not in the same spot in life. You may have a lot more money than me. You may have a lot less money than me. You may have a lot of bills you need to pay. I might not have a lot of bills. It's just everybody's situation is different. But again, I look at this chart and I go, I'm going to at least give it a fighting chance because, look at from a time perspective, Bitcoin halving here in 2016, altcoin, or others dominance, we had 600 days of, prosperity for altcoins against Bitcoin. And then here in, 2020 through 2022, we had another 600 days. And I don't know if it will, be another 600 days, but that could potentially take us all through the next, couple years. And I don't know, again, how long it will last. But
Max, are you selling altcoins?
No, I'm not. I think that based on this chart, altcoins are probably just about to get started. And again, I remain data dependent. So if things change, you guys follow the channel, of course, I will let you know. But again, Bitcoin halving is in a couple weeks. Now, let's talk about meme coins, guys. All right. Let's talk about one in particular. All right. So we're going to talk about Andy. Going back to, the last video that I did on Andy, things have certainly heated up, right? I believe the last time that I talked about Andy, it was somewhere around here. It was somewhere in this region, right? I think it was maybe between like 4 and 6 million market cap on YouTube. I believe it's maybe like 6 or 7 million right now. It's the smallest of all the ones that we've talked about. All the OGs buy ETH or buy Pepe on ETH. They're going to buy Andy on ETH, and the contract is right there, 0x68 next to Pepe 0x69. On Twitter, I called it out a little bit lower than that, but obviously, and this is in log mode. This is where we talked about it, and now this is where we're at. We're up 10x since the public call right here. The reason that I initially got into Andy is the following. One, I thought that the chart looked pretty good, right? Like I saw a new contract that was basically coiling. You can see this downtrend right here. I covered this in my last video. I saw us, looking prime for a breakout. Well, in my opinion, the floor was holding. Here's the floor. And I was like, well, there's kind of this like Pepe verse narrative. I didn't create it, right? But like there's this emphasis on the Boys Club and Matt Fury's creation and Andy being in that comic. The Boys Club, friends with Pepe. And additionally on Dexscreener, you can see that, really anywhere you can find it, but the contract address for Andy starts with 0x68 and Pepe is 0x69, and they're both on Ethereum. And to me, it seemed very, likely that people would see that and go, oh, this is all connected. They're both on ETH and the chart looks good and it seems underpriced compared to a lot of the other meme coins out there. And the contracts are, they start with very similar, similar letters and numbers, 0x69 for Pepe, 0x68 for Andy. It's very marketable and fun, and it's like part of this meme season. And I called it out. And by the way, I've done a lot more coverage on other meme coins than I have Andy. I only have included Andy in one public YouTube video, unless I'm mistaken or forgetting something. The market has clearly made a decision of some sort, right? Like I try to give equal coverage and, be the wind in the sails equally of all of the projects that I talk about. But again, we are all beholden to the market. You are not smarter than the market. You are not stronger than the market. You do not know more than the market. And a lot of people as beginners feel as though that is not the case and that they are in control. When actually none of us are in control. And the best piece of advice I could give any new trader or investor is to just entirely submit to the market. Whatever the market is telling you is the truth. You could say any narrative you want. You could spin up any fundamental thing you want. You could do any type of mental gymnastics that you want. But at the end of the day, the only arbiter of truth, and that is 100% correct, is the market and the price action and the chart. And, we called out Andy low. It's already up over 10x, since my last video on it, as shown. Let me be clear. I haven't taken a single dollar of profit on this trade at all. And the reason that I haven't is because of this chart right here, because Andy, as well as, Doge and Pepe and all these other meme coins that I still hold, they fall into this category, the others dominance category, where if altcoins rise, again, it's, a rising tide lifts all ships. I wouldn't want to sell my high risk meme coins before, others dominance. Again, here, this blue chart, the blue candles have a chance to, really perk up here. So again, it's no different than any other meme coin that I've covered or any other altcoin. But again, the market, they like the story. They like what they see. And, some interesting facts around Andy, right? Here's the thing about it, guys. Like, I'm not going to lie to you. The Andy community is, technically speaking, at a major disadvantage towards conventional meme projects. And the reason why is because it is 97% community owned. The team, and I have all of their wallets on alerts, have not sold anything into this recent pump. They're here to ride. And they're doing what they can to support. And when they popped up this contract and they created Andy, they didn't set aside big team wallets with 50% of the supply, and they didn't set up, wallets that would later be used for, delegation or gifts to exchanges in order to list Andy. And what the community has had to do recently is actually crowdfund money for exchange listings, because typically what you see with these altcoins is that they'll reserve, and set aside sometimes even 50% of the available supply from day one. And, then a bunch of people start buying into it. And, they have millions of dollars in these wallets that were set aside and planned and coordinated from day one. And then what they can do with that is they give tokens and money to exchanges, and then they pay a bunch of crypto marketers, some of these guys we see on YouTube that have a new shill every 3 days to get more retail involved. Then they pay these guys a lot of money to start marketing. Andy has none of that, like literally zero. The only money that Andy has is from the community. And it's really cool, first of all. I've never seen this done before. I've certainly never been a part of anything like this. But, this project is decentralized to a fault, where, we don't have the same budget for Andy as some of these other projects, which means that the community has to step up. And this is truly an organic grassroots effort from individuals, from minnows, not whales, from minnows. We do have big wallets buying, but this is an army. This is a this is a very thorough, deep commitment from people that like the message that clearly there are insiders in crypto, and this is almost a vote. This is a vote and a ticker by the people, for the people, paid for by the people in the community. And they're casting their vote that, hey, 97% of these tokens were bought fairly on the open market by individuals, guys with $100 to put in, or $10,000 or $100,000 to put in, whatever. But 97% is bought and owned by the community. But that means that the army is only as strong as its least committed members, right? So, it's up to everybody to make this work. And again, it's ultimately up to the market what happens, right? And we do have a couple nice centralized exchange listings coming this week. And, I put out a tweet about that. And, you can see on the tweet that, when, and I cherry picked a couple examples of strong meme coins, but there's plenty more that have worked extremely well. And then there's some that haven't done so well. But from my experience, the strong ones that are exclusively on chain that end up getting listed on centralized exchanges, they typically, they typically prosper after. And the reason for that is, it's more difficult for most people to wrap their head around how to even buy something on chain. For a lot of crypto native people, it's certainly easier. But looking at this chart here that I tweeted, Brett recently, once it got listed on centralized exchanges, appreciated quickly 400%. Pepe, reaccumulated for, a week or two, and then, went on to go to 1.5 billion last year. But what a centralized exchange listing does, guys, is, it allows a lot more people to buy. These centralized exchanges have millions of customers, and they do billions of dollars of daily volume. And when they list a hot ticker, and it goes exclusively from on-chain to a centralized exchange listing, it's easier for people to buy and to store, and to wrap their head around. And that opens it up to a lot more investors. And typically it's a good thing. And there's also a lot more liquidity and market makers involved. And we have coordinated a couple really solid initial centralized exchange listings. Plus, we also have one of the best market makers in the business, funded by the Andy community, that'll be stepping into the order books here, again, to support us and help this project get off to the right start. So, there's a lot going on here, guys. And, look, as simple as this, right? Like, as I mentioned, it's up to the market, right? I'm going to do everything that I can to shine a positive light on all of the projects that I'm involved in. I haven't been paid by any of these projects. The only reason that I'm interested in them is because they chart nicely, right? Like I can look at the data and go, all right, here's Andy, here it is. And this is actually charted against Pepe, right? Here's Andy USD. Again, similarly, we look at this and we go, all right, this is great. But the thing about Andy too is that it's still considered a micro cap. This is a very, very small, very, very, very small project still. Like, the idea of like missing it or being late is, actually not so much the case, right? This is a $66 million ticker. I wouldn't consider, like, this is still sort of your early, assuming that the launch on centralized exchanges goes well, right? I look at this and I go, all right, this is sort of your early, anywhere in here from like, $1 million to 60 million is sort of like your early adopter phase. And then from there, assuming that the centralized exchange listings go well, you could potentially see something like this, like this is the push over 100 million to 200 million to $500 million, where, optimistically, we continue to grow our holder count, which, by the way, you can see right down here at the bottom on Dexscreener, it's at over 6,600. When I initially made my video, I believe we were just under 1,000. When I first found it, we were like sub 700. So in a week, we've over 10x'd, our holder count, which is, it's unbelievable because, again, this is all community driven, community funded, and I really love the story that's shaping up. You know, like I'm happy to support a project that is so decentralized, even if it means it's at a disadvantage to a lot of these big, a lot of these bigger projects that, have a very coordinated marketing effort and exchange effort in the beginning. For those that are familiar with the movie like Rudy, this is Rudy, this is us, the community, grinding extremely hard to uplift this awesome meme and community, all having each other's backs, all chipping in, doing everything we can with extremely limited resources. And if we can pull this off, this will go down in the history books, and whether it gets pulled off or not, I can promise you it will not be from lack of effort, but I also can't promise you that it will go to multiple hundreds, hundreds of million, if not decabillions, because I'm not the market. I'm a trader. I'm an investor. I'm a business owner. I'm at the hands of the market, just like you guys. And again, we are only as strong as our least committed community members. But again, I covered all meme coins equally. I still hold all the other meme coins that I've talked about, but the market has made a decision that they vote with Andy. And for us to grow our holder count at X in a week, and for price to go up 10X in a week, and now have 2 major centralized exchange listings coming this week, all community funded, it's a powerful message, because for too long, crypto insiders have dominated the space really just to prey on gullible or inexperienced, vulnerable retail participants that just want a fair shake and they want a better life. So they get into investing and they get dumped on by insiders. And that's the antithesis of what Andy represents. So ultimately it's up to the people to decide and continue to support this project however they see fit. But yeah, there's a lot to look forward to. I shared some charts, and again, I will not be selling any of my altcoins until it makes sense for me personally, and I remain data dependent. Right, it's that first chart that I showed you. It's Bitcoin on the top. We got the halving in less than 2 weeks. Typically, Bitcoin runs up like crazy, and then below it, I had the blue chart, which was altcoin dominance more or less. And I don't really want to reduce my altcoin exposure, whether it's Pepe, Doge, Celestia, some that I hold, Caspa, obviously I'm super bullish on, or Andy, or any of these other smaller meme coins, until I think that altcoin dominance chart that I showed in the beginning is getting close to a peak. But again, I'm very bullish on Andy. Not just because I got in early and I have a big position. There's plenty of coins I've gotten in early too, but because of the community rallying, right? Like it's fun to be a part of a community, right? Like we all want to be a part of something greater than ourselves, right? That's, even the most introverted individuals want to be a part of something great. And nobody knows what the future holds. Nobody knows exactly what's going to happen. We can only wake up every day and give it our all and act with integrity and honesty and try to be kind, and help people. But it is certainly fun to be a part of something that is, overwhelmingly positive and fair. And it's not to take away from any other projects, because sometimes projects start out unfair and then they turn to being fair quickly, and that's fantastic, right? But I really enjoy being a part of this community because the chart looks good. The holder base is growing like crazy. Again, it's up 10x in a very short period of time. It's still very early. You can see a lot of these meme coins. For example, SHIB went to 50 billion last cycle. SHIB went to 50 billion last cycle. Andy's at 60 million roughly right now. Not to say that we're going to go to 50 billion. I have no clue, right? I have no clue. But I'm just saying nobody knows what the future holds, right? Like you never know what's going to happen. And all I know is that this army, this community, I've never seen I've never seen people so receptive to a message before, where they understand that this is an underdog story in the making. This is a Cinderella story, and they're committed to it and they want to help, and they're donating to make it happen out of their own personal money because Andy has no budget. This is, this is the Oakland, this is the Oakland A's. This is Moneyball, right? We have no budget. This community has no budget.
Something strange is now happening at Oakland. You cannot argue the point right now. We can
12 in a row. They're making a joke out of the American League. They were in Detroit today, and just
he throws to first, and that's the sound of 14 straight victories.
14 straight, the longest run in the bigs this year. It has slingshot the A's into first in the AL West. It's a nice.
This team was written off. How do you explain otherwise?
But we're going to make it work with a bunch of underdogs and a bunch of misfits, and it won't be from lack of effort. It won't be from lack of effort. But I hope that I provided some background as to what I'm thinking in regards to my altcoin holdings, why I continue to remain fully exposed to alts and I haven't taken any off the board yet, where I think Bitcoin is in its cycle, again, where I think altcoins are at in their cycle, and what I'm planning to do with my meme coins. And I don't think, for me personally, it makes sense to take profit yet on anything because I remain data dependent and the data is not flashing a sell signal to me yet. But of course, when it does, if you guys subscribe to the channel and tune in, I'll be happy to let you know when I'm starting to see those signals, but I have a feeling it will be months and months from now, maybe even a year plus. So anyways, guys, thanks so much for tuning in. We went almost half an hour, but again, please like and subscribe. Check the description below for information on anything that I talked about. And yeah, guys, a lot to look forward to this week. Again, thanks so much for being here, and we will see you next time. Take care.